Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, Capital One Bank, Eastern Consolidated, M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, Meridian Capital Group, Customers Bank, Aerial Property Advisors, Perfect Building Maintenance. Additional funding has been provided by AKA Hotels, Corman Communities, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, AVR Realty Company, Avison Young, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, Citizens Bank, Cohen Equities, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, Connect One Bank, CPEX Real Estate Services, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Genova Burns, Handro Properties, Handler Real Estate Organization, HAP Investments, Hodges Ward Elliott Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, New Banks, Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Polsonelli, Rosewood Realty Services, SJP Properties, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Knackle Group at Cushman & Wakefield, Maring Goff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Group, and these friends.
I want to be in the restaurant business. I want to be a chef. I don't know anything about this, so I brought my executive producer, Drew Nieporent, to talk about these young restaurateurs, chefs, entrepreneurs in the business. My guests today include the former top chef, Leah Cohen, a chef and owner of Pig and Cow. Dan Delaney, who is a chef, an owner, and entrepreneur of Delaney Barbecue and Delaney Chicken. And needless to say, the one and only Drew Nieporent, who is, the Myriad Food, Nobu, Tribeca Grill, and many others. Okay.
Thank you.
So, you're in the business how long now?
Well, I've had my restaurant for almost 5 years, but I've been cooking for about almost 15.
So how is it to be in the New York City restaurant business? As he always says, the landlords kill you. It's a tough place to be here. Then the inspectors over there, they come in there and they inspect the property.
I mean, I would say it's not getting any easier, that's for sure. It's definitely challenging. One of the positives is to say that you have a successful restaurant in New York City, which is probably the hardest city in the world, maybe. One of the hardest cities in the world to be successful. But it's definitely challenging. And I don't know that I would necessarily want to have another one in the city.
How do you see it, close to 30 years or more since the opening today? Is it harder to be in the restaurant business or easier?
Oh, no, it's much harder now because the economics have changed. There was an eagerness when I started I opened my first restaurant in '85. It was like an adventure if you opened in a neighborhood that people didn't travel to.
But wait a second. This young lady is in a neighborhood that people didn't travel to?
Yes and no.
Street wasn't the neighborhood.
Well, okay.
Tribeca was not a place.
They create the interest in these neighborhoods, and people go. I went. You're in Red Hook or in?
He was in
the barbecue.
He was in Williamsburg.
Okay, so Williamsburg is not the end of the world, but it still is a schlep for somebody like me. But I read about Daniel's brisket, so I made a special trip to go out there just to try his brisket. So the point is, when I opened in '85, David Boulay was our chef at Morrichet. I knew everyone was going to show up for the reasons that I charged $16 for 3 courses, Michael. And we were serving food that the provenance was Joel Robuchon and Paul Bocuse and Freddie Girardet. I mean, this was the most beautiful food for $16. I had worked at the French restaurants in Midtown where even back then they were charging $75 at La Grenouille and Le Périgord and
But you know,
those restaurants.
Leah, she worked for many famous restaurateurs. She was with David Berkey. She's been around. Okay, you know, how do you decide to open up a restaurant?
I
But not forgetting you. Don't want to.
I honestly, I don't like working for anyone else. If I'm gonna be there and spend, you know, 12 to 16 to 18 hours a day, I want it to be for me, and for my guests, or something that I believe in, a passion project of mine. And I didn't want to do it for anyone else, so I opened up my own restaurant.
So how did you get into the barbecue business? You know, you grew up in New Milford, New Jersey. You went to school in Pennsylvania, and then you took a smoker on top of your roof?
Yeah, so I was, I had been traveling through Texas making videos about food and putting them on YouTube and hoping to make enough money off of advertising to live. And I did that for a few years. And when I was down in Texas, I was trying barbecue. When I was in Louisiana, I was having boudin and fried chicken and whatnot, and became pretty infatuated with the food that's down there. And had always been like interested in American food in general. Became much more interested in it when I went down there, and then at a hobby level, started cooking barbecue back up at home.
Leah was involved with food, okay?
No.
She went to Culinary Institute. There was training, but were you involved? I mean,
No.
what did you know about taking a brisket or chicken?
Yeah, no, so nothing. And so what we did was we knew that we needed to learn, but
You know, he was a grill man at McDonald's, so you can understand.
1972, quarter-pound grill man.
we we built this. We announced this idea called Brisket Lab, which would be a laboratory for how we'd make barbecue, for how we'd learn to make brisket. And we built sort of our own website and built some buzz and hype around it. And we sold about just over $60,000 worth of brisket in under 48 hours to just random people in New York City that didn't know anything about us, but they took a gamble. And they
How'd they find you?
just like clever marketing. We built like a website that was sort of very elusive, and we built the whole mechanism of the website around this idea of fear of missing out. So as you went to the website, it said that we had this much left in our bank account of meat, and every time people bought it, the number was ticking down. So we created this mechanism where you really wanted to get in, or you would sort of...
Or I'm going to die, I'm not having my brisket today.
Exactly, yeah. And it worked. And so when we sort of flicked the switch, we had a lot of people. We had, I think it was like 4,200 people that bought brisket in that 48-hour period.
Now, they bought it online, or they...
Yeah, so they were buying like a gift certificate. They were buying basically shares of meat that they would then redeem at some point in the future. And they were our guinea pigs. So when we went into the summer of 2012, we were buying meat at La Frida, which is a meat purveyor in Jersey. And we were trimming the meat, seasoning it at this time in my parents' house in New Jersey, and smoking it in the big smoker that I had in the backyard that I had brought up from Texas. And I was doing this with my buddy, and so we were sleeping in like rotation in my childhood bedroom because at the time we didn't know how to cook brisket. It was like 20 hours of cooking in the rain, whatever. And then we would schlep that into New York City, and we would do an event, and then the next day we'd come back and we'd do that. And in the summer of 2012, we did 33 of those events. And so the people that bought all of that meat up front basically redeemed it at the events.
Now, I have a question. It was like StubHub, could we get a higher price, you know, depending on where I stood on the line?
Well, it was definitely interesting. There was a lot of, I mean, we built a whole mechanism where you had a bank account that you could log into, and you could allocate your meat shares to different events. It was very sophisticated. But there was definitely a huge push of people that didn't get it and were petitioning to try and get in just because they really did miss out on the opportunity. And so they would look for people that had extra meat and whatnot to tag
I'm going
on.
to get back to you in a second on the chicken. When you opened up, how did you decide to open up the Lower East Side in this type of restaurant?
Well, we picked the Lower East Side because of the rent. The rent is significantly cheaper.
That's why he went down to Tribeca originally.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
exactly.
I knew that the type of food that I wanted to make and my target audience and clientele, like the age group that I wanted to hit, would not spend a lot of money. So we needed to find a place that was kind of fit the vibe, that was like kind of rough around the edges, a little grimy, and also where the rent was not crazy expensive, but also a place where we could still get a liquor license, and that we could have enough seats. So it was kind of like a needle in a haystack, and we found Pig and Cow.
How fast did the restaurant take off?
No, it was not immediate at all. I would say the first year was really hard, and I thought because I was on Top Chef and I had, like, my name was somewhat out there, and my other partners, my old partners, we're no longer partners, they had a presence as well. I thought the two of us coming together would be an instant success, which it was not.
You know, as Drew was saying before, when he opened up Montrachet, you know, he was in the French restaurant business. He had a price point which was there. Okay, he had David Boulay. You know, there were a couple of things. What he did also failed to say is that it took a little long for Boulay to get the food out of the kitchen, but
Well, that was after
after
3 stars.
right after the 3 stars. But the 3 stars helped. What helped you grow?
I don't think there's one specific thing that I can pinpoint and say what helped grow. I would say it is a culmination of PR, social media, and then just the following that we've created. We have a lot of big name celebrity chefs who are big fans of the restaurant. So them coming in and
You have a major celebrity restaurateur.
well,
who's major.
if I can say something,
You can
Drew's
say
never
anything.
been to the restaurant.
You know, it's one of the funniest things. It literally, every time I've wanted to go there, there were times when Leah wants to be there when I go there. That's number one. But also, like,
Leah told me she's there till 1 o'clock in the morning.
well, sometimes she has to travel too. But the point is, I have a list, and I never throw out these pieces of paper. So I saw the list from 2014 the other day, and it's like, you know, it's scary. I've never been to M. Wells. He was on the show. He was
Sure,
on
with the
show.
Trout Man.
I've never been to any of these new restaurants like Cuckoo, Coke Rico. But I mean, I finally made it. I finally made it to Uncle Boone's, so I'm getting real close
But
now.
you also, but
I'm
you did
getting
make it to
hot.
the Brisket Man, right?
Well, that was a different kind of thing, and it actually, listening to Daniel speak, it's interesting because he creates an interest, and then you know you go there, and the proof's in the pudding. He's got a good product.
But then you've changed. Now you've gone to the chicken. So from the beef to the chicken. Why? How
Wants to
come
go
the change?
healthier.
No, yeah, but it's fried chicken.
I'm joking. That's why.
You know, the reasons are pretty much countless. There's so many reasons why I think that this is a good move. But I think that one of the struggles that exist with the food space today, which maybe is something you didn't have to deal with, is that in general, as a culture, we produce information much faster than we ever did before. There's more information on social media, more blog posts and such. It's a real grind. Like,
You had no Yelp. You had no I mean, it was a different world. I mean, people lived on Zagat. Okay, that was the Bible.
Well,
okay?
word of mouth and Zagat.
Word of mouth and Zagat. Today, it's a social media.
And also
It's a
the
different
power of the New York Times. For instance, you've been reviewed, right?
Yeah.
So how many, did you get 2 stars?
2 stars, yeah.
Okay, so 2 stars when I first opened would have been return on investment. 3 stars was an out-of-body experience. You know, when we got 3 stars, I could have filled the City Field. I mean, it was an onslaught, but I knew not to take everybody right away, and I stretched that to only.
But you know, we're also talking a different type of world. You know, when Leah opened up, the neighborhood was getting gentrified. It's getting more gentrified. But you've gone now to urban space, which is the next generation of let's say, a fancier food court, of a better type of food.
Call it a food hall.
A food hall.
when we went into it originally, when we had signed the deal, we were going to open a barbecue place there. And in the years that the barbecue place was open, we had also operated for a while on the High Line as a cart and had barbecue sandwiches. And we never really found much traction in doing that. The folks selling tacos seemed to do well. People with coffee did really well, but we never saw much traction. And one of the concerns that I had at the time was that maybe people just don't want to eat red meat. They don't want to eat smoked meat, which is, it's richer, it's more unctuous at lunchtime. And I knew that that was the market. So
pork is not red meat, right? I just want a clarification. Pork and cow.
True. But still, the spirit was, I think, that I was concerned that people would feel that smoked meat, would be too rich for lunchtime. And I understood that was the main audience there. And so it was only because of that that we sort of pivoted and decided, let's do fried chicken.
I'd like to point something out to you, Michael. I think the difference that I see is the spending has actually shifted from the middle-aged people to a younger crowd. The younger crowd, when I was growing up, had no money. They didn't eat out in restaurants. Maybe their parents took them. But now there's a whole generation of very young people who go out to their restaurants and they spend real money. And if they don't spend it on the food, they spend it on the booze.
Yes.
Right. We were talking prior to the show. You were saying that your average ticket was in the mid-30s.
Yeah, on the weekdays, it's about 40. Well, we do a tasting menu, so it's $45.
Right, and on the weekends,
it's like 30,
about 38. But you also have this 2-hour liquor?
So we do it for brunch and we do it for dinner as well. Brunch, it's mimosas and draft beer. In the back of we have like a back patio, so we have a self-serve keg. And you get a solo cup, like you're in college, and you can fill it up as many times in 2 hours. We honestly, it sounds like you think people would get really aggressive with it and take advantage of it, but people are pretty chill.
That's good.
There used to not be a time limit on it, but we quickly changed that because we do a lot of covers because our check average is not
How many
high.
turns do you have a night? You like it? You taught me well about all this business.
Yeah, 3. 3.5.
But the age group is what?
About 25 to 35.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And your customer base?
Well, it's older, slightly.
Because of the location.
Because of the location. And
what was your customer base in Williamsburg?
It was a bit older. We had a lot of people that were treating it as a destination restaurant, and it would not be uncommon for any night for us to see a bunch of people coming from Philadelphia or Connecticut or something. It was a very small restaurant, and we found that there was a huge interest in people that were sort of diehard barbecue fans.
So when we were meeting in the green room, you said you're expanding your chicken enterprise. Mm-hmm. Okay, what is the new enterprise in the chicken world going to be?
Well, we're building right now a second location. It's in New Jersey, and we're looking for additional locations. And
what is the average size of the new location that you're planning?
So the new store will be a 1,400 square foot store. So it'll be an inline, freestanding. It's in a shopping mall, but it's not part of a food court.
Will you be selling brisket or just chicken?
No, it'll just be. It's a very small menu. I would say that the menu design is sort of similar to like In-N-Out Burger, but fried chicken sandwiches. So it's a very compact menu.
Is that because of the number of people you want to employ?
It's because of some mechanisms that we've introduced to how we cook the food. So part of how we've designed the menu is that all of our sandwiches use the same piece of chicken and the same bun, and so all the flavoring is done through condiments and sauces and such. So that's the reason that we've kept it that it's still so small.
What is it? A chicken patty?
We use it's boneless, skinless thigh meat that we use, and it's sous vide ahead of time, and then we batter, dip it, and fry it.
So where do you see yourself? We were talking about this. It's a tough business. The good part about it is you met the sous chef in this place, and you got married, right?
Yeah.
So he's your partner in crime in business. Where do you see the opportunities? Because New York City, as we were saying, and Drew knows this better than anyone else, the rents are high, lots of competition, there's difficulties. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? there's no question that being on Bobby Flay's show, on Top Chef, and other things are important, rising stars and all that. Where do you see yourself growing the next opportunity?
Well,
and do you see it being a different type of restaurant? Or
yes, I do. So I have a lot of ideas of what I would like to do in the next 5 years. The main one is I want to do hotel licensing deals, like management deals. I think that in order to expand the brand, you have to have infrastructure and people in place to do it. And if you don't, the best way to expand your brand and not have to worry about if a dishwasher shows up is if you get a management or licensing deal. And there are a lot of those out there. A lot of people are a lot of chefs are opening in hotels, which gives them the chance to expand their brand, but not have to be there all the time.
Guru of the business, how hard is that to go into the management of the hotel?
No, it's a smart way to ride. Actually, we did this, W Hotels launched essentially with us in 49th Street. We did all their food and beverage. And then I did outlets in Seattle, San Francisco. I mean, the point Leah's making is they're going to hire her for, her reputation, that she brings a little sizzle to the operations. Was it Dale Taldy?
He's opening up
he's
everywhere.
all over Miami. I noticed it on this last trip. But the point is you're in their building, and you're the risks. It depends on how the deal is constructed, of course, Michael. But the risks tend to be the hotel's risks. So you get top dollar. You're not worried about getting
right.
paid
You get your management fee for running the space, and then you get a profitability fee also.
If the restaurant's off the hook and it does really well, there should be something in addition. But I would say that's, in this day and age, that's probably the smartest thing you should do, if you can find people who have confidence in that. Because Nobu, we did that very successfully in a lot of locations, and now Nobu's pioneered Nobu Hotels.
Right, because you've expanded the brand. I mean, Equinox is doing that right now also. I had a show once, and I called the president of Equinox a health club, and he said, "We are not a health club. We are a lifetime experience."
There you go.
It's a different type of thing. But now they're Equinox Hotels and the other brands that they have, Soul Cycle, as you said, and other things over there. Where's your expansion going to be?
New Jersey.
I think that
No, he's going. He may go. Leah grew up in Westchester. He might one day go to Westchester. He said.
You can go anywhere.
I think that with the chicken business, the game that I would like to be in, or the way that I hope to grow it, is through a franchise mechanism. We're opening up other locations now to demonstrate that it works, and to build that out and to figure out all of the kinks. But I expect that within 3 years or I expect third quarter 2018 we'll be starting to sell franchise licenses.
It's nice to go into the restaurant business, but it's an expensive business. How do you capitalize your business originally, and how do you capitalize your business? I mean, he got an SBA loan. I mean, he worked hard.
Yeah, but that was
no. But that's years ago. So what I'm saying is, it's expensive to lease a space. It's expensive to have staff. How do you open up your restaurant?
My father was, or is, the main investor. He's the only investor at the restaurant.
That's the way it works sometimes.
So it was great. I would never want to do it again, because the amount of pressure that I felt to make it successful and not have him waste his money was insane. But he believed in me, and he still continues to believe in me and tries to give me more money, and I'm like, I don't want it.
And you, Dan?
So the barbecue restaurant was capitalized through entirely investment. And that was a minority of it was through my family, but the majority of it was through folks that I had met by doing.
So you did a crowdfunding?
No, we did like traditional equity style, and I sold shares of the business, and that's how I've done the different locations as well.
So each location is owned by different people?
We're merging things. I'm working to merge things together right now. The people that were part of the barbecue restaurant are being moved.
I have a question for that. What's better, or what do you prefer, Fuku chicken or Colonel Sanders? KFC.
Oh wow, that's a hard.
No, you can say that you like both. If you don't like both, you can say that too.
My favorite fried chicken that I had in the United States is from Willie Mae's Scotch House in New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah.
I went
that's
there.
My favorite.
I went there on my bachelorette.
Yeah.
But
that
you
was
don't
really
cook
good.
the chicken in skillets, right? She's got to be cooking those in
They
skillets.
don't cook in skillets. They
don't
deep
cook?
fat fry, and our recipe's really close to what they do.
Oh, okay, good.
You know, we were talking about this urban space, the new type of food halls. Do you see that as the next generation, or is this a temporary period? Because you had some thoughts about that.
Well, I think personally, the food hall thing is great, and I just think that in New York, it's getting a little oversaturated. But I think there aren't that many people who do it well, and if you get lucky enough to be involved in a group that does it well, then that's great.
Nothing would drive me crazier than you're in this setup where you're elbow to elbow with your competitors, and the guy over there's got a line, and you're not busy. It would just drive me absolutely out of my mind.
I want to murder some.
No, I'd peel him off. I'd try to get him.
But I think it's great. I think that food halls is definitely a thing of the future. I don't think it's a fad that's going away anytime soon.
I think that food halls seem to do well when they can organically fit into the flow of traffic that already exists. Because in the city, we've seen over the last 3 to 5 years, maybe 7 to 10 different incarnations of the food hall. And some have really floundered. For example, there's the one that's up on 40th and on the west side, and they built the food hall hoping that they'd be able to see the majority of the patronage from residential tenants in the building, and I think that most of the vendors in that food hall haven't found it to be super successful. Some in larger areas, bigger areas in terms of their just traffic, are doing well, even if they don't necessarily have the best offerings. And then there are some, for example, like there's the Bourdain food hall that's being constructed soon, which is going to be on the other side of the West Side Highway.
Have you seen the construction of that?
Which is a true destination. So,
Have you seen that, Michael?
Yeah.
I mean, it's massive.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think, as we've said with the dean of the restaurant world, the world has changed. I mean, years ago, we didn't have Instagram. We didn't have all these Facebook, all the other apps, all these specialized apps. I think that the business that is there. Each and every year, there's going to be a new young chef, young operator, and I only wish that Leah and Dan continues to do well. And we know, best of luck on the new opening of Nobu coming to
Visit us, 195 Broadway.
195 Broadway, and I'll see you next week.